The DJI FPV drone is a very polarizing product. On one hand, pure FPV enthusiasts hate it because they find it to be something closer to a Mavic in FPV mode than a real FPV quad. On the other hand, the release of this drone definitely made it easier to get into FPV, and we saw a massive spike of filmmakers and other creators who started using FPV in their videos, which is always great.
Oh my god, my heart is pumping.
As a person who's been flying camera drones for about 5 years now and regular FPV for about 2 years, I was also torn when I first started using this drone. I had both good and bad impressions from it, and my love-hate relationship with this drone has been ongoing ever since I got it. So in today's video I'll share my long-term impressions from the DJI FPV drone, both good and bad, while trying to help you figure out whether that's a product worth getting or not. First, let's examine the drone up close a little bit. Weighing at just under 800 grams with the battery and the props, the size and the weight of the drone definitely put it on the bulkier side. That's not the problem though. Most of my 6S quads weigh about the same with a GoPro 9 and a big 1300 mAh battery. The problem is that due to its shape, the DJI FPV drone is not very aerodynamic, so sometimes it really struggles to perform more acrobatic moves and it feels a little bit sluggish and heavy. Sure, most people would argue that's not what this drone is made for, and they would be right. However, it's important to mention that sometimes because of this, the drone feels a little bit underpowered and underperforming, introducing a lot of prop wash and lack of power when exiting a more serious maneuver. When you start flying the drone, one of the first things you will notice is the much improved video quality inside your goggles. For comparison, here's how the footage from a regular DJI Air unit camera looks inside your goggles, and here's what you will see when you fly the DJI FPV drone. It really does make a massive difference, almost looking like a GoPro footage inside your goggles, and there's definitely a lot less breakup, blockiness and blurriness on the screen with this drone as opposed to the regular HD FPV experience. So being able to use this crystal clear feed in your goggles will help you not only feel more confident about where and how you fly, but it will also make you enjoy your flights a hell of a lot more, being able to spot all the little tree branches, small strings of grass, and all those little details that normally you wouldn't notice while we fly. But speaking about the camera, here comes one of my biggest gripes with this drone. Simply speaking, the camera of the DJI FPV drone is just not good enough. The rock-steady stabilization that the drone offers has a lot of shakiness problems, which could really ruin some of your shots. Especially when we all know DJI made this drone to be a cinematic drone and not really a racing or a freestyle quad, the camera should have been its biggest strength. Unfortunately, that's not really the case, and I have quite a few problems with the camera. Starting with the dynamic range, which is really bad, meaning that there is almost no detail in the shadows, which look like a big dark spot in your footage with zero detail. In addition, I can't understand DJI's position of only allowing us to shoot in 4K 50 or 4K 60 frames per second and not give us the option for 24, 25 or 30 frames per second. Yes, you can always slow down your footage or simply use it on a 24 or 30 frames per second timeline. However, the lack of camera options is just disappointing. On a GoPro camera, for example, you can manually set your minimum or maximum ISO, as well as individually set your shutter to manual or automatic. This is especially important when you don't want to manually lock all of your camera settings when you fly in an area where the light switches quickly from dark to bright, such as going through a dark forest, for example, and then exiting into a bright wide area with lots of sunlight. The solution for this with the DJI FPV drone is just to film in fully automatic camera settings, which is definitely not ideal. When you do that and you're using an ND filter, for example, the camera is not smart enough to always use the lowest ISO possible. Instead, it cranks it up to a really high value while still using a relatively high shutter speed, leaving you with grainy and somehow choppy footage. This has been one of my #1 problems with the camera of this drone, even when I close my eyes about the stabilization issues. The solution for this for many people has been to attach a GoPro on top of the drone, and in one of my recent videos I tested that too. And although it works, I don't think I'll do this often, as I really dislike how the drone flies with the additional weight of the GoPro, which becomes too much and the drone just becomes really unpleasant to fly. On a more positive note, I really do like how this drone handles the lack of signal. Compared to a regular HD drone, this one needs more time before it starts displaying blocky and blurry footage in your goggles due to its better transmission system. When eventually you lose signal though, the drone actually switches to a stabilized mode, meaning that it will simply hover in the air until it regains that signal back, and it will come back to its home point automatically. This has saved me a few times when I lost connection with the drone, and I definitely like how safe it is. It just works like a Mavic. So the fail-safe mechanism is something that I would definitely love to have on all of my drones, just for that added security and peace of mind, knowing that it won't just drop from the sky when it loses connection. Speaking about the flight time, I'm loving the longer battery life of this quad, which usually gives me about 10 to 12 minutes of flight time with each battery. That's significantly more than a regular FPV drone, and you can bring less batteries with you when you fly. Another reason you'll probably use less batteries with this quad is because they are expensive as f***, with each one costing $159. Ouch. Finally, if you do decide to fly this drone on a regular basis, I have two final warnings for you. First, there will be no-fly zones, just like on any other DJI drone. Normally, having no-fly zones is good and means safer flying. However, we all know sometimes these no-fly zones are not correct, and they will make you unable to fly in an area where it's actually okay to fly. So keep that in mind. Second, this drone is expensive to fix. And if you decide you want to take advantage of the DJI Care Refresh for repair services, I would advise you not to do it. It's a lot of money to spend, and you'll find yourself spend less money if you send the drone to DJI directly without Care Refresh, or simply fix it in a local shop. I'll share a video which Ken from Original Dobo recently did about the DJI Care Refresh, which explains in very good detail about all of this. So to sum everything up, I think the DJI FPV drone is a good product, but definitely needs a lot more support from DJI to become a great one. Coming up at $1,300 for the basic bundle, which includes not only the drone but also the goggles and the radio. It is a steep entry into the FPV world, which will probably leave you with a bad taste in your mouth. The lack of software updates make it seem like DJI is not really sure what and how to improve on this drone, and the fact that many people started using GoPros on top of the drone so they can get better camera quality also speaks for itself. The product is just not quite there yet, and DJI has a lot of work to do to make this the go-to FPV drone they wanted this to be. And until then, I think I'll stick to my regular FPV drones, which I can crash as much as I want and do more things with. Anyway, that's everything I have for you in today's video. I hope it was informative and useful for you. If you have enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe and drop a like for the algorithm. It really does help me out a lot. This is Mike from Drone Supremacy. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. Ciao.